Hey, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Foundry Virtual Tabletop version 12 from the ground up. I think I nailed it. That was pretty good. So just really quick, I might have kind of a scratchy voice. I've had kind of a sore throat. Also, I don't know if there's been any comments, at least in the last 2 days. I just remembered that this weekend, for me, by the time you see this, it'll already have been gone. But I'm actually going to Arizona this weekend, so so I won't be able to record like I usually do on Saturday. So I wanted to hurry and get this out there and pre-recorded before I have to go out. So anyway, in our last episode, we talked about some cool mods that gave us the I think it was token mold. We went over the macro one and the force thing. We I think we did 4, but I can't go over all those again. In other words, I'll never get through what we're going to do. So today might be a little bit of a short one. We're going to cover something we did use when we were doing our kind of single player, I guess, where we were just going through the adventure of Lost Mine of Phandelver, well, I guess technically the shattered, below the shattered obelisk, or whatever it's called. So in this episode, we're going to go over just a couple more kind of quality of life more than anything, and show you both how they look in the GM view and the player view. So the two that we're going to do that I decided that I know a fair amount about, and at least what I want to cover, is Dice So Nice, which gives us 3D dice to roll on the table, which is always fun, and then Dice Tray. Dice So Nice actually has boatloads of options. I will let you explore lots of them, but we will go over a fair amount of them. And Dice Tray just gives you a real quick way, instead of having type /r space 1d20 kh, something like that. You can actually do it a lot quicker for your players. So we're going to go ahead and hit save. Man, this throat. And first thing you'll notice is the dice tray gives us this guy right here. So when your players want to, actually I'm going to clear this real quick. So when your players actually want to roll or something, you just say, oh, just give me a d20. They can actually just click on this, and then they'll also have all these options down here. So for example, you want to say roll me a d20, with a +2 modifier. If I say with advantage, it will actually automatically change it to a 2d20 plus the modifier, or this will also change it to the 2d20 as well. But now instead of KH, which is keep high, it's going to keep the lowest one. So that's some of the nice things. One of the other defaults that this has is this dice now actually has a function where if I click on it, we get what they call their little dice calculator, which is basically doing the same thing as this stuff. Usually I actually disable this because I think you can actually do most of the stuff without it, other than multiply, divide, and all that stuff. But I can say D100 or something like that, and it's automatically going to do the roll. And then when I hit roll, it'll automatically do it. So once I hit roll here, you'll see that it rolls, and we actually had a 3D dice appear on the table. Now the color of the dice, the default will be whatever the color that you have for your user. So for example, I usually like magenta, so we'll go 255 and a 0 and 255 like that, because that's a nice bright color, stands out. Oops, I didn't hit OK, did I? Why do I always do that? Man, my throat is itchy. 2550 and 255. Then we got to scroll down. This is what I didn't do. I get so used to doing that. So now if I do that roll d20, you'll see now we have a magenta colored dice that rolls. So don't those are kind of how you use it. The Dice So Nice just works. You enable it, it just works. Everything else is eye candy, how you want to actually make it look, the size of the dice, and all that stuff. Now, if your players are having issues with performance and stuff, you can go they can disable the Dice So Nice themselves, just so that they don't have to render that on the screen, or maybe turn down some of the options if they have like the chrome and metal dice and all that, like a chrome effect on metal dice, that's having to calculate shine on them and all that stuff. So if they just go down to just plain matte dice, it might be okay, but ultimately they can just turn it off. So let's go look at the settings real quick. And like I said, the dice tray has very few settings, just the 5 right here. The one that I actually usually get rid of is add a button to pop out. So, or no, that's not it. Where is it? Dice calculator, general settings, I think is where I do it. So enable the dice calculator is that one. So if I do that, it will actually get rid of that clicking the dice, which pops up that other thing. I rarely need them to actually go into that advance of a calculation on their dice. Usually it's just roll me a flat 20 or something like that. And then you can actually enable disable it completely. So now you'll see once this reboots, that now this dice doesn't highlight or anything like that. If we go look at the player view, also not doing that as a default. All right, let's go back and look at some of these other things. So as you can see, player view actually has the same thing. Click on roll, it will use a purple color because that's theirs, and boom, easy peasy. All right, so let's go look at some of these other options real quick, at least the ones I use. So under dice tray, we have the general settings, which have those 2 options. You also have the dice row configuration. This is where you can actually even, like, I want to stick in a coin flip or something like that. You can actually do that. So I could come in here and say, oh, I want to add 1 more dice in there, and I want it to be a 1d2. It's going to be on row 1. If I had an image, I don't know if I have an image for a coin. We can check real quick under core data, I believe, icons, dice. Doesn't have 1d2 there. But let's say I did have one. I think actually if I went to commodities, maybe currency, maybe we could find something that'll work in here. Here we go. We'll just use that one there. So we can have a coin flipper. Did I not hit enter again? I'm so good at doing that. Why didn't it put it in there? And select. I'm not sure. We'll check when it's done. You can have a label tooltip, the color of it, and then we can create that dice. So now you'll see that it created a new button here called 1d2, which is just a simple coin flick. If we hit save changes, let it refresh. Now I believe Dice So Nice will detect a 1d2 as a valid die, and if we click on that, we'll actually get a coin. So once again, that's one I never have to really use. If I want to do something that's either heads or tails, I will say roll the d4, evens are this, odds are that. Usually I don't do, a coin flip. So you can add your own buttons in there. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Go ahead and trying to remember how I delete it. There we go. Just right click on it to delete it. So go ahead and save changes. It's going to reboot again. So you can do that, and if if your Dice So Nice, I'm trying to remember. I don't think Dice So Nice has much more than the coin, and then your regular dice. I want to say it didn't have more. It might actually. Maybe it depends on the system you're using as well. Man, my voice might give out. So let's go back in, look at the settings once again, dice tray. So then we have the dice the calculator configurator. We're not really doing anything. This would just say which ones do I want actually to show as far as those go. Add the button to pop out. If I remember right, adds button on the control bar to toggle dice tray pop out. I thought this one made it so like the anvil or something does that, but I don't remember that one. I never use it. And then auto open pop out opens dice tray pop out automatically on page load. Once again, those are settings I usually don't mess with. I'm gonna hit save real quick just to make sure I did everything. So Dice So Nice, on the other hand, this has a lot of options. So we'll go into 3D settings in just a second, but like the roll table area, this is where the dice actually can roll. So let's say I didn't want it ever to go. I mean, if I maximize the screen and stuff, it's definitely going to change. But let's say I only want it to be, you know, so the dice didn't actually go outside of any of those buttons or anything like that. What we can do is come in here and say roll table area, and you can see the default right here, so we can kind of move that up to say, yeah, I only want it in this small area. And then when I do that, now if I hit save changes and I go and let's just roll a couple d20s, you'll see that they actually stay within that area. Delete. Let's go back. Dice So Nice again. The maximum number of dice, this is how many can be ran on the thing at once. The default's 20. It goes all the way up to 100. So if you want to have 100 dice and your system is robust enough, it doesn't need to be super robust, but that's a lot of dice. It might slow it down a little bit. Global animation speed, I usually leave most of these settings all as they are. Reset the welcome message, that was the thing that popped up in the chat. When I closed it, it automatically does that. This would make it so the next time I load, we can actually show. We'll hit that. And the next time people load, hit F5 real quick. Actually, there you go. So now you can see this gives the thing gives a little tour that says takes 45 seconds. Here's the 3D dice settings, which we'll go over. Actually, as a player, I can't do it there. And of course, I don't see it because I didn't reload yet. So I'm going to go ahead and just unset that again. As you can see, it automatically does it. Simultaneous rolls are merged. So I mean, these are all pretty self-explanatory and has this. You can disable the 3D dice during combat. Pretty obvious there too. Disable for initiative. This is usually a big one because even if you don't have your thing saying that I want the 3D dice to, you know, have lots and lots, when everyone rolls, it'll throw them all on the table at once and you'll see everyone else's. So there's a bunch of options here. You can have it show ghost dice. So when other people are rolling and stuff, they just kind of see the outline of a dice. This one actually is really much more friendly on a system. But let's just go in here now and look at this. I'm going to reset. Is there a restore? I'm going to reset that back to what the default is, which is basically the whole thing. Let's go look at the 3D settings. We'll go over that. See, we're at 13 minutes. So as you can see, this is what my dice will look like right now. Actually, I don't want to shut you. There we go. So these are the dice that I have right now. I have either a magenta coin or there's this gold coin that will always be there. Then we have the 4. We have a 6. We have a specialty dice. I don't know what game system that's for. We have an 8. We have the 10, we have the percentile dice, we have a 12, and we have a 20. So if you do not want to see dice, all you have to do is uncheck that, and then you won't get that. If we say we want to see the extra configurations, this is basically going to change some of the stuff down here. This is actually going to show us even more dice. So now we get these special other types of dice that go much, much higher. You can see we actually have 2 6-sided and 8 the 3 10-sided. Usually I don't do much with that. There's a link right here that will actually let you download special themes and stuff like that. But here's the meat of it right here. This is where the big stuff is. So if you look at the presets, this is the faces of the dice. There's just a couple. You can change it to dots, which will mostly just change the 6 because these are always numbers. You can say dot white. You can have it be the default Foundry dice, where the 20 or the highest value on each dice will be a little anvil. So as you can see, 2 is the highest value on that, 1 is not, 6 is there, 4 is there, so on and so forth. You can do spectrum. This one, if I remember right, ignores your color change. So as you can see here, this is the spectrum one. Some of these get a little harder to read, but ultimately, you know, it does all the adding for you. So whether it's really hard to read or not, human read, I guess, I don't know what else you'd call it, it still calculates. It knows everything. So I usually, once again, just leave this on standard. That way it will actually use everything I do. Then you also have your themes. So in themes, there's a ton of these. Let's see, can I see? So let's say, for example, you're a fire wizard. There's a default theme for fire dice. And you'll see that you click on that, and this is what your dice will look like. You can also do special stuff with, I'm trying to remember, let's see if I can remember how to do it. Let's say I have my, well, it's not going to matter at the moment, but, you know, there's the air theme where they kind of look like clouds and stuff. This one I usually just leave on custom, but I wanted to show you this real quick. One thing you can do, I believe it's with Dice So Nice in a, well, yeah, it has to be with Dice So Nice. So if I said I'm rolling damage dice, let's say I do a fireball. So I do a /R, and I'm hoping I remember this right because it's been a while since I do this. Let's say it is, let's say 10 D6. If I wanted to attach fire damage to this, if I'm right, let's just hope, you can actually do fire. And this, no, that's not a curly brace. So we can do fire like that. Hopefully I'm right. Please be right. Intact error. I know. I might have to go look it up. I know. I don't think it's parentheses, but I guess I know it's something that you do, but I probably shouldn't have actually. I don't think it's squigglies, the curly braces. Maybe it is, I don't know. I'll have to look that up. I'll look that up for the next episode because I know you can actually assign what type of damage it is, and it will actually use the right type of dice for that. But right now I'm completely drawing a blank, which is sad. It would have been nice if once, just once, it actually worked properly for me on the first try. But no, it doesn't do that for me. So that is your themes. Then we have the customizing these dice. So these ones will kind of set it up as themed or presets. Then we have you setting up. So usually I really like, under this one, I usually like the metal dice. I think they look really nice. So as you can see now, they have this kind of metal look. And then under material, I like the chrome. I just think this looks very nice. I really like that. So that's usually what I do. I usually leave the font as what it is, but there's actually a decent amount of fonts for you to choose from. You can also customize it even further. I think the magenta with the white numbers looks very nice, so I usually leave that. But you can see you can change the label color, which is the number itself. The dice itself is, you know, the color. Right now it's just using what my default is. You have the outline color, which is basically, if we change this to an off color, and of course that put it right under this guy so I can't see any of my stuff. Can I move this? Oh, I can't. Good. That's my recording software thing. it was in the way. I couldn't. So let's say I wanted, for example, to use a nice kind of, what is it, tealish, something like that. If I do that, you'll see now that the outline for all my numbers, it kind of makes them pop a little bit, but it is kind of giving the outline color for each of my numbers there. And then the edge color would be the edges of the dice themselves. So if I did the same thing there, I'm just trying to think, maybe this would be one that would stand out a little bit. We'll do 255 there and 255 there. And when I do that, now you'll see that we have this nice little edge on every one of them. So kind of nice looking. I think it looks pretty nice. So that is your basic options. You can come in and look. I mean, there's just tons of these things that you can actually do, and also tons of the, not quite as much. These are actually all of them showing on the screen, and then the font I usually leave. But as you can see, you can make your dice pretty nice. If we go look at the preference, the only thing I really do in here is I uncheck this auto scale, because right now these dice are actually really big. And you can see that with everything running on my system, it didn't even roll those very well. So I like to uncheck the auto scale right here and usually take it about to, I think it's 45-ish, 48 maybe. Let's do that. Let's try 50. No, I think it is 45 or 40 I usually do. 44, 47, 46, 45. Is that actually, let's see if that's actually doing it in real time. No, it's not. So it might actually be 45. So let's do this. I'm gonna have to save, unfortunately, which means it has to reload. Whoa, where are you going, buddy? Come back up. I'm going the wrong way. I'm using the mouse wheel. One thing I usually do, I have another mod that we'll go over called Disable Mouse Scroll, which sometimes when you're like scrolling up and down your thing, if it picks up at this, it'll automatically move it, which is actually pretty bad. So let's go ahead and do 45. We'll hit save. And I think that's all I need to do. If I hit save there and then come back in, now if I test, actually I don't think it did. Actually, let me make sure it actually saved first. So it's a 46, 45. We'll go ahead and save that. I guess I might have to save this too. So if I do, 2d20, yeah, I think those are a little smaller. I might actually do 40 usually, just because the defaults are just ginormous. But we're not going to play around with that for very long. So that is in the preferences. That's pretty much what I do in that, is make that smaller just so that, the dice aren't just huge on the table. Let's try that one real quick. Yeah, there we go. I kind of like that size myself. Let's go back in here again. Under preferences. So then there's just lots of settings on how the dice react, sounds they make, and all that fun stuff. So we have the scale, what it sounds like, what they're rolling on. Is it felt? Right now that kind of has that dampened sound. Wood table would definitely have more of a clickety-clack sound. Metal would have a tinky sound kind of thing. So we did that. I wonder if that'll work like this. Nah, it didn't work. And you'll notice because they're smaller, they actually kind of roll a little better. So that's another thing there. I'm just going to leave it felt. Let's go ahead and look at the special effects real quick. So this is actually something that you can do. So when you get a nat 20, nat 1, you can actually set it up. So we can say here that with the D20 on a result of 20, I guess I have to scroll down. On a 20, what do I want the die to do? So there's all these little options. Unique white glow. You can have it doing a macro. You can have fire off every time. You have epic win, which I believe, well, we'll do that real quick. Let's set up one for a nat 20 and maybe one for a nat 1. So we can come in here and say we wanted to also do a nat 1. And with this one, we'll do the epic fail. I don't think, let me turn on this sound real quick and see if that works. Let's hit save, save. Now I just have to hope we get a nat 20. If I had the manual dice roll, I could show you that, but we haven't gone over that one yet. So I'm just gonna roll maybe 20 d20s. There's a nat 20 right there. Sounds like I even got some nat 1s in there. So that was probably an onslaught of sounds for you. If you prefer, you can actually set it up so that it is not sounds, it's actually, you know, actual visual thing. As I recall, I thought there was something like they did a choo-choo train or something like that. So so we have these animations. I think it might be these ones. So let's do maybe, let's do on a nat 20, we'll try the white glow. On the nat 1, we'll do that one. This definitely isn't going to be a short video. And we'll go ahead and do maybe 12, 13, 14. Let's just do 20. Why not? All right, there's a nat 1. Actually, we got a lot of nat 1s. So you see we got that effect shown. I don't think we got a single nat 20 in that. We just got 4 nat 1s. So that is that. You can actually go make it so that you get these special effects or particle effects or something like that when you get the nat 20 or nat 1 or whatever you want. Sorry, I have my window open. It's kind of hot, so you're hearing someone doing something outside, pounding stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. Usually I don't set those, but it is fun that you can. Then we have performance stuff. You can turn down the image quality so it's not so high and reflective. But then why on earth would you do chrome and metal, which is highly reflective and stuff? You could always go tweak these things, try and make it the best that you can for your system. And then you can actually back up and restore your different settings. So like I said, usually the only things I do is I will do this area down here where I set the theme, and I will do the auto scale because I like it to be a little smaller. I mean, you can actually have these things pretty darn small. If we do save on dice that's 20 size, and let's do /r 20 d20, you'll see we just get these teeny tiny little ones, but they're a little hard to read. Did we get any nat 20s? We got 1 nat 20, no nat 1s. Wow. All right, well, I think that will do for this episode. Like I said, this is kind of a pre-recorded one, so sorry about getting to your questions and stuff. If you had those, we'll definitely address those or any comments in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, I think maybe next time, I probably won't remember this, but hopefully I remember. I think I'm going to do the manual dice rolling one, because that is one thing a lot of people actually like to do, is manually roll their dice. And if you trust them as the GM, it's definitely good. Oh, I didn't show you the player's view, did I? So if we go in here, let's just make sure. I think it's default. It'll just be purple ones. So as you can see how big they normally are. And you can make them pretty big as well. All right, so yeah, I don't think there's much really to show between the two. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Click that little notification bell. Join my Discord channel. Tell other people about my channel. Have them check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. You know, it's pretty easy. It's free. And that is in my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.